Hey, I'm Ethan, and today we've got a demo of Nokia's EDA, and with me is Reda Laichi. Reda, you know all about EDA, so let's start with it's an acronym. So, what is this thing for people that have never heard of EDA before?
Well, EDA is a name and acronym, and the acronym stands for Event-Driven Automation. Is a Nokia data center solution, automation solution, to basically simplify all the task of managing a data center from day zero all the way to monitoring and integrating with your ecosystem.
Okay, so real quick, you said event-driven automation, which at first I was thinking, oh, it's like a monitoring system that reacts to things or something. But then you explained I can manage and configure my entire data center with EDA.
Yeah, that's correct. So actually, it starts from even before having the hardware, you could design, put configs all the way to your services, test them, and when you are okay with this, you can push that to the configuration when you have your hardware, and it will go through discovering the hardware, and you have your full data center built in. And then after that, it has all the monitoring. So what the events get, the event part plays a big role is once you start monitoring your network, everything is streamed to the applications. And from there, you can actually program some actions. You could program, for instance, to automatically raise tickets or to do an action based on the event.
So, okay, there's a lot there. So it's a full blown platform. Then this is
It
something
is.
that I'm going to be spending a lot of time with to well, as you said, from design all the way through. So it feels like full life cycle management of my
It
data
is.
center. Okay, so show us. You got like an architecture slide for EDA, something where I can get a sense of how it's put together and what it does.
Yes, as you can see here, it basically has a few building blocks. What's important here is to again cover all the from day zero to day two plus, including maintenance. I didn't talk a little bit about maintenance, but including your maintenance where you could actually upgrade or replace hardware. It's included as part of the automation tool to minimize or to even zero the maintenance time required. So yeah, it's intent based, fully intent based with all the intent capability, which is monitoring and so on. And that's what we're going to see a little bit on the demo today. The intent part of it is a full CI/CD, which means everything's transactional behind the scene. Everything we do is transactional. We can keep track of the network as a code, and I'll actually roll back to any version of the code, the full data center if you want to. It's also integrated with all your other ecosystems without having to do traditional REST API or development and things like that, which you still do in certain cases. But integrating with your, for instance, IT application is very smooth way to do it.
Okay, there's a lot there. I just quick note on closed loop automation. That is the key point to it being intent based for me, because it's not only that you deploy it based on intent, but that you maintain and you know that the system is functioning as you intend based on that closed loop component of the automation. So that's a big deal.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yes, it's sometimes intent is looked at it just from I have a simplified way to send configuration down to the network. But actually, intent, a full closed loop automation, like you mentioned, is actually monitoring that intent to make sure it doesn't get violated. It maybe get validated or deviate from it. Deviation could be service impacting, or it doesn't have to be service impacting.
Okay, well, let's move to a demo. I want to see this thing. I
All
want to
right,
look at the
awesome.
slide. I want to see the thing now. Let's go.
Awesome. Let's switch to the demo. So when you log into EDA has a GUI, graphical user interface, but you could whatever you do in the GUI here, you'll be able to do it via the REST API for REST API. And also, if you are Kubernetes based, you could do the same thing from Kubernetes API. Um, so in here, you land in a dashboard, and that dashboard actually fully customized by operator with zero code, and you could actually drag and drop whatever you want. It becomes your
Okay.
personal dashboard. Awesome, right? So nobody will argue on, I
I
like
can
the
build the dashboard I want, and I
exactly,
always do because there's always
exactly.
things I care about that other people don't. And or it
Yeah,
sounds like I could also build a dashboard for someone who's not a network engineer, maybe, and show them things that they care about.
exactly. And you could have multiple ones. You could also share them with your organization or with your group as well. And if we go into take a look a little bit to my network here, so this is a true representation of what I have in my network, which is a fabric here,
So did
data
you
center fabrics.
draw that, or did it discover that?
Well, this will be you basically mentioned when I said a day zero approach where you design your configuration. So basically,
Yeah.
just I said I want this topology, and it will actually create all the configs for me. So I didn't have type one single line
Oh,
of config to get this, and you could actually have more information about the configs and what links is going to where and all that stuff.
okay,
I
okay.
didn't have
Wait,
type
wait, wait.
unity.
So I got a visual representation of this leaf spine architecture. It looks like complete with IP addressing, at least for management, and then it's got a bunch of. But you said you didn't have to do any configuration, and this thing is this thing stood up and ready to pass traffic?
Yeah, this one is a fabric, so we're going to create services, and then from there we can have traffic going. But this has all your underlay, your BGP, your IP addressing systems, driven from EDA system. So all what I did is that I need this topology with leaf and spine, how many leaf, how many spines, and what type of boxes, and it will create all the configs for me, including your system addresses, your interface addresses, your underlay protocols.
You
I
just
didn't have to
saved me
type
so
one
much
lane.
time.
Yes, yeah. I can create fabrics and delete them as fast as a minute or two. So and there's a lot of customization that could be added as well. For instance, if an operator or customers wants to do their own IP pool certain way to assign IP addresses, they can still customize that. But yet you don't have
Okay.
to manage the addressing, the AS numbers, and all that stuff. So
And I don't want to. It's so
nobody
tedious
wants.
and error prone. I
Correct. Yeah.
inevitably get something wrong in a build
Right.
like
Yes.
this. So
Yeah.
if you can automate it for me, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and the idea is the complexity is not going away; it's just been pushed away or pushed back, so the operator doesn't see it,
Well,
and less typing means less error.
yes, and if you're going to turn this into VX, I'm imagining maybe we go into EVPN VXLAN layout or something as this demo
Yeah,
progresses. But the opportunity for fat fingering is almost infinite when you start getting into that level of detail.
correct.
So
Yeah,
yeah, okay, this is the way to do things.
awesome. So yeah, so I have this fabric. Let's say I want to create a services because it's all about creating services and so on. Again, there's a few ways on how I can do this, and we kept in mind the different profiles of operators that can do this. You get the GUI operators, and at the same time, it's put the YAML here. So I could actually cut and paste the YAML file here and be provisioning this, or I can
Okay,
do it
okay.
from REST API.
So you clicked into virtual networks. I'm looking at basically a service definition. I'm seeing
Exactly, it's an
I've got
intent.
YAML on the one
Yeah.
side, and then I've got a form in the middle here that you're hovering over. That what are we going to do? Do something that's going to populate the YAML for me?
Yes, so the idea here, as I type here, this YAML get populated, and then when I push, it push the service creation. So this is my intent for that service.
Aha. Okay.
So I say I could write on the left side, on the right side, but let's do here this. So I'm creating a
Okay.
service,
So
and
I've
that
got.
intent could be customized as well. So a similar way you can customize the other things. So I'm gonna add here a type of service because customer one, and then let's do service one, which is belongs to. I'll explain that in a bit.
Okay.
Belongs to my service one, and that's basically it. So my pool and add selection here. I'll say role. This becomes. I'll explain that. So when we add roles, so what I did here is basically created an EVPN with saying I add a label. So instead of selecting one by one interface, I just add a label says anything with the label customer one will be part of this EVPN. Okay.
Okay. So just zooming out for a second here. There's all these different parameters that go into defining what VXLAN and then the EVPN on top of that is going to look like. We've built a
Yes.
form that's got all of those many, many different parameters that are going to pull all that information together.
Correct.
We've gone away from, I have to log into the CLI and begin hammering out all of these things in stanza form with kind of the design and role and services all in my head, knowing what I mean for it to be as an engineer. And now it's like that's all been abstracted into this screen that you're sharing with me. You're going to gather all the information and populate this YAML with all that data. And then I assume the final step is going to be what? Pushing that service that we've now defined into the switch?
Yeah, pushing to switches. So and again, have if you have created EVPN via CLI, you know how complex this. So what I did, I added transaction again. everything is transactional here. You get a chance to dry run this,
Oh,
and if you
okay.
want to dry run it, I can see what the difference. I haven't pushed it yet. There's just dry run. Dry run shows me all what's going to happen in the switch and the network and so on. And if I'm happy with it, or maybe something else that doesn't work, it does a lot of validation upfront. If I'm
Okay, so
happy with
before I
it,
had
yeah,
nothing, I'm about to push this brand new service. So the diff is everything essentially. There was nothing.
yeah,
Now we're going to have all this config.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I just did dry run. I didn't commit to it. Now I'm gonna commit, and then we'll commit go complete, and a commit also will show you the same diff. So now I have this EVPN running. I have my service running for that particular customer.
Oh, what did you push that to? Is that like a virtual switch there in your lab, or?
Yeah, I have. I'm using EDA. With EDA, we have capability to do a digital twin or digital sandbox, which is a full
Mm-hmm.
control planes of our switches. And
Mm-hmm.
EDA comes also with the digital twin, as you know. So for this purpose of demo, I'm using the digital twin, not the hardware, not the real hardware, but the same,
Got it.
exactly
But
same thing.
yeah, exactly the same thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So when you push a config, like we were just looking at, you don't just push an EVPN to a single switch. It's got to be the fabric for it to do what it needs to do. So did we push configuration to everything in the fabric, or one switch at a time? How does that work?
Yeah, we pushed it to all what this EVPN need to be based on the label we put in. So any interface that had that particular labels will be automatically added, configured, and added to this EVPN. So that gives you the power of basically doing simplify, um, adding customers on onboarding application to a service.
And this is a big deal here because when it's service oriented, when you're thinking about delivering a service, you're delivering it to the fabric. We shouldn't be thinking as network engineers about one switch at a time and what do I have to configure on the switch to make it do what it needs to do. We're working on the network as a whole. So I think that's a really important thing, because what you're configuring and the way you're doing it with labels and so on is a different approach. It's a different way of thinking.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be thinking about just one box at a time, but also even take to the next level, which I shouldn't be. I should minimize what I'm typing. It should be automatically saying there is customer onboarding. I just that interface put it in the EVPN. I'll illustrate that in a bit here. So
Mm-hmm.
if I go and, for instance, I want to onboard a new customer or new application to that EVPN you seen earlier. So I pick an interface that actually belongs to that particular that I want to be part of that EVPN. So all
Okay.
what I have to do there is actually add a tag or label. So remember we said this belongs to customer one.
Right. Yep.
So by just doing this, and then I can basically add to transaction, and then I go to my transaction and say, well, let's commit to it directly,
Okay.
and then let's see what we did here. See, just by adding a label, I have added this interface. So if I select the 20
Mm.
interface, will be the same thing. It will
Mm-hmm.
be all added to the EVPN, which means all the configs required are actually automatically added. All this config that you see here, I didn't type them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not only in the interface, actually, interface has to be configured as well, the EVPN, as well the other switches to update all what the EVPN is. So this is very powerful. So what I did right now is actually onboard a new customer, new application as a service to my fabric. And it took, a minute just by adding a
Now,
label.
there's
And
some
those
back
solve
end
the
work I
topics
would
here.
have had to have done as a network engineer to make it so that that service exists. I got to start with, uh, in other words, I've got this bank of code that has to exist in some state so that it knows, yeah, okay, we're going to configure this role. But if I haven't defined that role, if I haven't defined that label ahead of time, it wouldn't know that. So this is something you've done ahead of time already.
Yeah, when I created, remember that EVPN, I said that VPN belongs to customer one. That's all what
Yeah.
I had to do. That's what the label says. Belongs to
Mm.
customer one. Now, every time there is an interface with customer one, it will be part of that EVPN. And I can do multi-tenant, I can do multi-applications, and you can think about all that stuff. But I didn't
And I
have to
could
create
build
any code.
I could build other services then too. I could build a service catalog then here, it sounds
Exactly.
like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's like this is one EVPN. You could have multiple EVPNs. We could share that EVPN with customer 2 and 3 and 4 and so on by
Mm.
having a label again, different labels, and this all logical grouping allow us to do fast automations and be able to provision services, eventually selling services quicker, and also removing services. Just by removing the label, all the configuration will go away. All the configuration you see here will go away. So that's how easy I can migrate services, for instance.
Another point, though, at the top of this show, you said everything that I'm looking at is API driven. So if I wanted to do this via, I don't know, a Python script, I could have made this happen via Python.
Correct. So you have few ways. We see in the GUI. You have also the REST API that we publish. So you could have
Yeah.
your Python on top of REST API and call the API create EVPN or add this interface. You could also use Kubernetes API, which is a kubectl create, and you point to the
Hmm.
YAML file, and it will create that for you. So depending what's your working
Okay.
environment, and we put a lot of effort into capturing all kind of operators profiles, GUI profile, GUI, people that love and operate the GUI, and also people that have orchestration on top of orchestration that they may use Kubernetes or they may use REST API.
Mm. Okay. Okay. This is there's a lot of power here. Okay, and a different way of
Awesome.
thinking for sure. What else have you got to show us, Rita?
Yeah, I was just to stay on that spirit of simplicity and be able to look at things. So let's leave this one here and go to something called we talked about integration earlier. So I have something called here notifiers, which tells me that if I look at the configuration, it tells me that this configuration is actually I'm sending alarms to Discord, and I'm
Okay.
only interested in alarms at interface down. I could put a lot of complexity here, saying exclude any other alarms, add only this alarm, or even doesn't have to be alarm. It could be threshold, for instance, right? CPU or something like that, and I could
Hmm.
build some logic here. And then, as you see, I'll enable this notifier here.
So you've pre-built this notifier alarms to Discord. You've plumbed it
That's
into your
all what
Discord
that,
channel,
that
and
that's all what I did. I just
yeah.
added this one here. It's all what I
And
need to
now
do.
you're specifying, I'm going to leverage this alarm that I've created for this particular sort of alert interface down.
Yes. So what I'm saying is this particular notifier application, it says if an alarm with interface down comes up, send it to Discord.
Hmm.
And I'll show you. So I'll enable it because it was disabled. I'll commit to it.
Yep.
Okay. And then what I had to do as well is to define my Discord, which Discord channel I'm going
Right.
to send
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And that's the key here.
Right.
So
Okay. There we
yeah,
go.
that's
There we
the
go.
key.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said, as you can see, very simple. I say, send it to this Discord channel, right? So with these two simple configurations, let's bring
No,
my
okay.
Discord.
You did a commit. You did a commit.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Where did that commit go? Did that push down into the fabric so individual switches now have the capability to push to Discord, or is that happening in the server, the virtual machine where EDA lives as a control plane, management plane device?
That's a good question. So what I did, I said, enable this capability. This capability lives in EDA. The routers
Okay,
and switches have no idea what's going on about this. And that
got
hence
it.
the events. So because the switches, all what they have to do is just forward the events that they come to EDA. When events hit EDA, as an alarm, for instance, it will then, EDA is responsible to do that notification to Discord, right? So let's go back to that same interface we seen earlier, and then let's shut it down. So, and that could be shut down from the router or from anywhere else. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
It's just
What?
funny that I was laughing when you did that because your first instinct was, I'm going to go to EDA to shut the interface down. Whereas many of us would have been like, I'm going to log into the switch and, go do a
Yeah,
shut or whatever the syntax is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. I do sometimes CLI. Just in a demo, it shows better when you shut it down on GUI. So let's. I turn off this one here. I want to also have the window on the same time. So, let's commit to this, and then right away we'll switch to. Oh, so now I get this interface down.
Bang, there it is. Wow. Okay.
1024. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right away. So in traditional way, you would have to write REST APIs. and not only Discord, let's say you have another ticketing systems or another alarming system, you have to write and listen through Kafka or pooling, things like that. So
Yep, some kind of
with
a
just
message bus. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So this type of integration makes it easy for operators to, and I can send more information here, all the details about the alarms if I want to, or again, it doesn't have to be an alarm. It could be just a state that I'm interested in, a CPU, a memory usage, for instance, telemetry. So that makes it simpler to integrate with other applications and other users for that matter.
Well, so interface goes down. I don't know. Open a ticket in ServiceNow or
Exactly. Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not just opening tickets. It's actually um, putting all the information in a ticketing system that the person is going to look at. Doesn't have to go back and forth fetching for information.
I can build an intelligent ticket that's right, pulling all the
Exactly. Yeah.
relevant data that I
With
need
with
right at
with
that
the
point in
with
time. Yeah.
with the root cause and all the possible scenarios and what happened and so on and so on, and
What do you mean with the
context.
root cause?
A context will say if this was the service was impacted because don't forget that we also get an alarm about the AVPN being down now, so
Yeah.
that will tell us that because the interface is shut down. To give you context, don't chase the wrong alarm.
You might have buried the lead on some element because the point here is if EDA has context about not just the physical interface went down, but all of the other underlying or on top of services that are there and that are impacted, then you can roll all that information into an alarm. That's huge. That
Yeah,
was for
yeah,
years. That was the holy grail for a network engineer. Don't just tell me that something's slow or an interface is down or whatever it is. Tell me all the applications on top that are impacted by this. And be like, oh, the longer you were at
yeah,
the company, the better you kind of knew what was probably being impacted. This can tell you not everything, but many of those things right there that are
yeah,
impacted. Especially if your network is delivering services that are crucial to the business, you can
yeah.
plumb all that together into a notification.
Yeah, that's power being the controller. You can see the whole network, but you can also see the hierarchy of the switches. So you know that the switch has ports and the interface belong to ports, and that port has a link, and that
Yeah.
link carrying services. So you could actually build that logic and say, here is the root cause, or here's how it happens. So that's the power of being centralized.
Well, Rita, this is a very cool demo. I love the power of this. I love how this is going to make my life easier as an engineer because I'm not able to hire anybody. So to be able to deliver services like that in a way that I know is going to be reliable is kind of a big deal. If people want to find out more about Nokia's EDA, Event-Driven Automation, where would you send them?
Yeah, there's a lot of resources, and maybe another. We also have Try EDA, which is a version of EDA digital twin that you could actually download and put it on your laptop or in your lab and share it with your teammates, and you can play with it and so on. It has full capability what we've seen today and way more than that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And if you listen to this and you're interested in more from Nokia, they are coming strong in the data center space. Go to packetpushers.net and just search for Nokia. We've been covering them for quite a while. We've got quite a bit of content out there to inspire you to dig into what Nokia's got to offer in the networking space, data center, and enterprise. They're not just service provider anymore.
Thank you.